live.
Okay, good.
Just 2 seconds, huh? Ruchira, can you see us on the live? Yes? Okay. Is it there on Facebook now? Oh,
I can see.
okay,
I can
great.
see.
Great. So, hi, Santosh.
Hi. Hello,
Uh,
everyone.
So Santosh is our first guest at 5 p.m. live with Makeshift. As you know that we are coming with our different team members to you for the live sessions, but now we are coming with our partners. And for next Eduthon, Santosh was the first person whom I spoke to come up on board as a partner. And within a moment, Santosh was like, "Of course, I will come on board." And it's my honor to introduce you, all of you, to Santosh, who is the founder of Think Sharp Foundation, and we welcome them as NGO partners for next Eduthon. So, Santosh, can you tell us briefly about what Think Sharp Foundation is all about? And also, we see that you do a lot of things in rural Maharashtra. So,
Yes.
just tell us about that, then I'll ask more questions.
Okay. So before my introduction, let me congratulate the entire team of Makeshift, because I'm seeing from last couple of days the kind of efforts you guys are taking to make it big success, and finally you are at the stage where proudly you can say, yes, we are there now.
Yes.
I have seen, I mean, you and your team is taking day and night, you are working on that, and we are proud to have a partner with you. Because nowadays people doing a lot of webinars, and I would say they are paid or free. There are a lot of programs which are happening around the education sector. Some of them free, they are paid. But the good part about the Makeshift is you haven't thought about your own profit, but you
Yeah.
first thought about the profit of the society, how
Yeah.
we can give back to the society, and especially this COVID 19 pandemic situation. And I really great. I appreciate you and your entire team that you decided to not to charge any participation fee, make it absolutely free. And even though whatever the amount you raise through that program, that entire amount will go to back to the again society from Think Sharp Foundation. That's
Yes.
really wonderful. Um, about my introduction, some of you must be know me from long, but let me introduce myself. Uh, I started Think Sharp Foundation in 2011 when I was doing my full-time job as well. Uh, I belong to the small family, a farmer family from a Bid district. You must be heard about the Bid, because of a lot of news around the district. There are every year there is a drought or some political news are there. This is one of the district which is not well developed so far. Still, there are a lot of challenges, especially in education, healthcare, logistic. But somehow we are taking the step. So I came from that background. Initially, my schooling was in the small village where I born, the village named Mandwa, not from the Vijay Path movie Mandwa. This is the different Mandwa in Bid district.
Okay.
So I done my schooling there, and then gradually I came to Taluka place, and then district place for my engineering. But all the journey from my first standard till my engineering degree, it was a rural and a semi-urban kind of.
Okay.
So it was always a dream to see, what kind of institutes are there in the urban areas, and we have mostly seen through the movies or on the TV screen. But it was always dream to study in some big institute where we'll have access to computers, where we'll have access to library, but it was always a dream. But then after my engineering, I moved to Mumbai to get the job, because that was the first priority after you finish your engineering, and especially when you are from the middle class family. So your first priority is to get the job. So with that dream, I went to Mumbai, got the job, and started working there. After 2 years of my work experience, I realized that I am really behind compared to my other colleagues in terms of my uh, communication, whether it's a soft skills, hard skills, technical skills. I was far behind from them. But there was a good thing about me. There was a confidence in my within me. Yes, I have to do this, and I will do one day. So with that motivation, I decided to pursue my full-time MBA, and I joined the full-time MBA course from one of the good institute from Mumbai. And during even that 2 years of my MBA course, again the same challenge which I faced, that everybody is in front of me compared to my soft skills or the technical skills, communication. And then again it was the same similar experience. I was blaming myself. It was my fault to born in a rural place, or because I had no access to such kind of facilities. I could not speak English. Even today I face a lot of challenges speaking in the English. But to tackle those problems, I decided to go ahead and finish my course. After finishing my course, I joined the corporate sector again and started working. But there was a one thought in my mind: what about the students who are studying right now in the various rural schools? Are they capable enough when they finish their primary education or secondary education, and when they come to cities like Mumbai, Pune, or when they take the admission in institutes in the rural areas? Will they able to compete with this world? Because we are moving to the 21st century education, where everybody from the at the age of 6 or 7, now they have exposure to the computers and a lot of digital gadgets. But what about the rural area? They do not have such kind of luxury available at their home or even the school. The schools are hardly with few books, whether it's a textbook, notebook, and one teacher and blackboard. This is the current situation of the government school across the country. Now from last couple of years, we are seeing some changes which are happening because of this digital education, and lot of other things which are happening. But then it was my thought that let's give back to the society. I came from 0 to at least 50, but there are students, there are children who probably will not able to come to at my level as well. So I decided to start ThinkSharp Foundation, and in the year of 2011, I started ThinkSharp Foundation as a charitable organization. But I was not sure what to do, honestly. It was just a thought in mind, because there was no proper program which had designed. Then we had a lot of brainstorming with friends, and then we come up with this program by the name Study Mall. So we got this idea from the shopping mall. So when you enter to the shopping mall, you get from pin to piano, you get everything what you required. So similarly, we wanted to offer all the education related infrastructure, all the education related resources to the kids from the rural pocket, and under the one roof. So we named it Study Mall, so where you will have access to all the educational resources under one roof. So with the one first program in 2013, in a small village in Jalna district, we started with the first program, and we started getting the good response from the same village and the nearby village as well. And then from starting from the first center, now there was a time to scale those programs, because there was so much demand from the nearby villages, but because of the lot of other challenges, we could not scale the program. Then we changed our strategy, because earlier it was a after school program, and there were a lot of challenges which we were facing. But then we decided, what is the place in the village which will have all the basic infrastructure available? And that was the school. So we have a basic infrastructure such as a classroom. We have electricity available in each and every school. We have teachers who can play a role of volunteers or ambassadors who can use of all the infrastructure which we provide and make this great success. So
Mhm.
in the 2015, we started with the working with the first school in
Mhm.
Jalgaon Taluka, Jalgaon district, and then from 2015 we never looked back. And from the first partnership with the first school, now in 2020 we have reached to around 55 schools across the Maharashtra that spread among almost 12 13 districts including Buldhana, Bid, Aurangabad, Jalna, Palghar, Pune, Raigad, Ahmednagar, and I think there are few many. So this is how our journey from the 2011 to 2020. Now we have reached more than 9,000 rural children across these 55 schools, and we are aiming to reach another 100 school in another next 2 years, so that this the divide of the rural and urban can
Mhm.
be fulfilled. So this was the journey of Thinkshop Foundation from 2011 to 2020.
This is amazing to know. Santosh, you have one question. When did Santosh start his first study mall project?
So we started first study mall project October 2013.
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier, it was a small village in Jalna district named Surangadi in
Hmm.
Bhokardan Taluka,
Hmm.
where we rented one small room, around 150 square feet area, where we set up a library, and with the help of donation from one of my friend, we got 2 computer machines as well. So we put up that machines, and there was a one a full-time employee we recruited from the same village, a 12 pass student who could able to run this center from morning to evening. So how we manage this uh, morning, the students will come who are not going to school. It means the students who are at the higher level education, and then afternoon, after the schools finish, the school children will come and access those facilities. This is how we started our first center. And I remember the starting the first center was not an easy job,
Hmm.
because there were a lot of questions on me whether I am earning money or I'm really doing the social work. Because the
Hmm.
moment you decided to do some social work, people start questioning on you,
Hmm.
and that all people are including from your friends, family, and your outside people. So
Hmm.
that was the really key challenge for me to enter into the social sector, and that too from the charitable organization. But somehow I was able to build that trust among all our donors, and with the donors from friends, family, and from my own pocket, I spent a lot of money that point of time, and we started our first center in October 2013.
That's great. I mean, this is a dream journey for. I'm very sure people who want to, work in education sector for a long time. It should be one of their dream to start a charitable organization and then grow it like Santosh did. So Santosh, the format of this session is like coffee conversations. So I'm so sorry you're not here with me.
So I'm holding it, but
Divided
it is in the
you.
steel glass. So thank you.
Okay, so next time whenever we meet for coffee. Okay, so somebody's asking me how
Sure.
to get in touch with Makeshift. Just email to makeshiftedc.gmail@gmail.com. Okay, so the next question to you is, we read a lot about digital divide between urban and rural areas, and also this your story which you narrated the story that you were facing difficulties in your college time or job time. So this brings me back to my classes from TIS, that there was something we used to study, that okay, education is something, it is not just doing that, breaking barriers of breaking society's barriers, but it is also reproducing inequalities. So
True.
these are two things about the digital divide. How do you look at it, especially after coronavirus
Right.
pandemic? And second thing is the inequality part of education.
See, we all know we live in India, but when we call it India, this is not a one single country. There is another one country which is Bharat. We should not
Hmm.
forget that. 68% of our population live in still in the rural areas.
Hmm.
Okay, so just imagine what is that number of 68%. So there are a lot of divides, and one is the education divide, which we are going to discuss today. Around out of 18 crores of total school going children, as per the data from the government of India education department. So there are around 18 crores of school going children. Out of them, 15 crores are studying in the rural schools.
Hmm.
How many? 15 crore out of 18 crores. Just imagine how big is the rural education market. Okay.
Yes.
And when, if you look at most of our policies, most of
Hmm.
our education content, you
Hmm.
know, that content or that policies are not focused on the ruler, considering what they required. That
Hmm.
is what I believe. I'm sure everyone has a different aspect.
So I was analyzing one textbook a few days back. So there I saw a picture of avocado and broccoli in your diet chart. Being in urban setting, I also don't eat broccoli or avocado here.
Even I don't eat broccoli. I think recently I only came to know there is a vegetable called broccoli, because my wife is doctor and she knows. But I am from the background of such, I know the few vegetables which I consume at my home in the rural area. So just imagine, and even that is another example I will take. If you take the English textbook of any standard,
Huh.
you know, even the first standard, I take the textbook of the first standard, and in the first standard, the content start with the poem.
Hmm.
Okay, now there might be obviously the policymakers have thought something on that, but what I understand that if you start the language with the poem, how they will understand?
Hmm.
Don't you think they should start with the first ABCD and then preparing the making the sentence and then come to the reading poem or the writing poem? So this is something this is my thought. I don't know what policymaker has thought. They might have decided, okay, children are born, they know the ABCD, and let's start with the poem. But in rural area, even a small kid, if they read a ABCD, so it's like a celebration at their home. And if they started reading the poem, then it's a Diwali. So this kind of things are there. Let's come to our point.
Huh.
So there are many divides, but digital divide, which is there, which is very much visible. And
Hmm.
why we are talking digital divide right now? Because this COVID situation has forced us to thought on the digital divide. Till date, people were not so serious about getting the digital learning into the rural areas, because there were schools, there were teachers, there were regular schools were happening, and so far there was everything was going okay. But
Hmm.
suddenly, because of this disturbance across the globe, people are shifted from the normal learning or classroom learning to the digital learning. Now, if everyone is starting from the normal learning or the classroom learning to the digital learning, can we afford in the rural areas? Do we have that much luxury to learn from the digital device?
Hmm.
If we talk about the percentage, the what data I have, the rural household, only 4.4% rural household own the computer device. Just
Hmm.
imagine, only 4.4%.
Hmm.
Then how they will access to the digital learning or the e-learning? Even if we talk about the smartphone, there is a, at least as per my knowledge, only 18 to 19% households are holding the smartphones. Now, who holds the smartphone? Parents hold the smartphone. Does it mean the smartphone is available with the children? No. If parents are staying at home, okay, probably they can have access to the smartphone. But if the moment parents are going out for their work, will they have access? No. Similarly, what about the internet? Even though you provide the device, hardware device, let's say you can afford the device and you purchase of worth of 15-20,000 rupees. Do you have internet connectivity available? So that is another question. So if we talk about the numbers right now, the only 14.9% rural household has the internet access. Okay. Now, even this 14.9% who has internet access, does it mean that the internet has a good bandwidth? Even today, I'm in a taluka place, I have to look at and search the network in and around my home. So just imagine what will be the condition in the small villages. So this is the big challenge. This is the big digital divide which we are facing, from in rural and urban. Yes, in urban area, parents are, they are scared to sending their kids to the school, but it cannot stop them studying because they have a capacity to buy the digital device. They have a good internet access available in the urban area. So their study is already started. Even though they don't go back to the school, from wherever they are from their home, they can start learning. But this is the not situation in the rural area. So there is a big digital divide between the rural and urban education system.
Okay. So ThinkSharp is doing a lot of work around digital, reducing this digital divide.
Yes.
Okay, so you have a couple of questions. There are a couple of questions for you. One, how to manage students' mentality. I think it is about mental health after COVID-19 pandemic. And how do you look at education in the post-pandemic area? So I think post-pandemic era, that's what we are talking about right now. So yeah, Santosh, you can talk about this students' mindset or mental health when it especially comes to who are totally affected by the pandemic situation,
Right.
and how do you look at education in the post-pandemic era from the rural education's background?
See, to answer this question, I'm not a expert to especially to talk on the mental health and that too of the children. But let me think that way. See, we are already, everyone is under stress, including me, you, our parents, our neighbors, and even kids. They are under pressure. Nobody knows what to do and when to do. We are completely blind. What is going to happen after this COVID? We don't know when this COVID is going to finish. First of all, we are very skeptical about when the schools are going to reopen. There are a lot of news around. Every day the schools will open on the 15th of June. Somebody says no, schools will open in the month of July. Somebody says no, school will open in the month of August or September. Because education or the school is the last thing which is going to open after this COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes.
Because everybody is scared about their kids, their children, and they will not send their kids to the school till the time they feel no, everything is safe, everything is proper. Now imagine, I heard about a couple of news recently. Government is deciding, having two sessions, one in the morning, second in the afternoon, and also or maybe alternate day. One day the few students will come, second day another batch will come, and just imagine if they are coming with putting the gloves on their face, sanitizer in their hand, or every hour they are washing the hands. Do you have enough that much facilities available in the rural schools? We are facing challenge here. They do not have even wash basins. They do not have the washrooms available, and we are thinking about having regular hand wash and sanitization of the school and so many things. Are we prepared to that? Does our schools do we have such infrastructure that our kids will be really safe at in the school? I have a really doubt on this part, because at another second point we are listening so many things that government is running out of the budget. They have a lot of problem with the budget part, And if we look at spending another lot of money on the education and just to create the infrastructure to wash hands regularly and put the mask and sanitization, I really doubt on that. So after pandemic, after this COVID, how the education will be, I'm scared. I'm not sure how the education it will be. But one thing is sure, the education will be not really the same was it was earlier.
Yeah.
It will be completely different.
Yes.
We will learn, but we will learn in a very stressed way. There will be no free-minded. Earlier when we used to go to the school or kids used to go to the school, there were friendship, there were people, students who are sitting together, they had a very good bond between them. Now if ask somebody to sit on one bench and somebody to sit on another bench, just imagine how the education will be. The another question is, there are students who come to the school because his friend is going to the school. Let's say if
Yeah.
one day his friend is not going to the school, will the another child or his friend will join with him? That is another question. So there are a lot of things. So education will be will not remain the same was it was earlier. It will be completely different, and we have to see how that different is going to be.
Yeah, yeah. And I think this program is one platform where we all are together visualizing that, okay, education will be, different, but how? From your point of view, from Santosh's point of view, from mine, and from parents and from students' point of view or teachers' point of view, how is it going to look like that we are trying to reimagine the system, right?
Because we have to ask students to sit in a proper way. There will be
Yeah.
no sports classes. So there are a lot of restrictions,
Yes.
and in such restrictions, I don't know how kids will react, because
Yeah.
earlier till that this time they
Hmm.
had a freedom to completely freedom in the school, and suddenly if you start pushing them in a small barrier and the bracket, this is the guidelines and you have to
Yeah.
uh, sit according to these guidelines, it is very difficult for teachers to manage the show.
Right. So what
And
is
it is
the
not
biggest
only about the
challenge?
education, it is about their health as well. We
Yes,
have this midday meal
that's a
program.
biggest challenge.
That is again the biggest challenge,
Mhm.
because you have to cook the food for the entire
True.
the school. So how you are going to manage that, that is again a big question,
Hmm.
because children do not come to the school just for the education. For
Yes.
to most of the children come to the school just to have their midday meal, morning breakfast, because that they
Hmm.
cannot afford such luxury at their home. So we have to think on that perspective as well.
Right. So somebody's asking, what is the biggest challenge in your work?
So biggest challenge in our work is mobilizing the entire community.
Okay.
Okay, so we can at some point we can convey, we can manage the CSR side or our corporate donors and everything that can be manageable. But when we go to the community, rural community especially, and we ask them to come as a team and work together to development of the school, there are a lot of differences
Hmm.
within the society. So some team will say something different, another team will say something different. Few are in the favor of development of the school, few are not in the favor of the development of the school.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of challenges, and it is our challenge to come everybody, bring everybody on the same board.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
whether it's they are teachers, whether they are parents, whether it's a gram panchayat or government officials who are monitoring the school.
Yeah.
So we have to deal with everyone and make sure
Yes.
that everyone is the part of the project, because till that time everyone is not the part of project will not success.
Yeah. So this brings me to the next point, which is your views on collaboration, because we also talk a lot about bringing all stakeholders together and power of collaboration with different organizations and with teachers, with the policymakers, with the government. So, what are your views on collaboration, and how do you see collaboration working in education during this era? I think your screen is flipped, Santosh. Are you there? I think he's facing some technical issues. Any other question? Okay, so he has joined again. Okay. We can't hear you, Santosh.
Hello.
Yeah.
I told you digital divide. So this is the digital divide. I'm so sorry.
Okay, you are giving live example of digital divide.
So this is the digital divide. So you have to bear with me, please.
No problem, no problem. So, okay, so I was asking you, what is your views on collaboration in education? Because we also talk a lot about collaboration, and this next eduthon is a collaborative exercise. So, how collaboration works in education, and especially when it comes to reducing this digital divide, how one can view the power of collaboration?
See, we all know, even there was a small story, if during our school days, if you try to bring, bundle of what you call that lathi, if you try to break by through as yourself, it will not break. But if you bring the entire team of makeshift, then you can break it. So it is similarly, the collaboration works in that way. So we have to make sure that, if we have to really develop the rural community, if we have to really develop the rural education, then collaboration is must, because none of the organization has all the capacities there available. So let's say we ThinkSharp have some unique points with us. Let's say we have something on the ground, our team is really good. Probably we have a reach in each and every village, we have good digital devices, but it does not mean do you have other things which are required. Especially let's say we require the content, because without content, digital device, it's kind of useless. So we need a content, we need some other partner organizations to specially create some other education programs, or some workshop for kids, for some workshop for teachers. So there are a lot many things which we require, and if each and everyone, those who are working in the same sector, if they come together, then definitely we can look at that, we will be the lead this the entire the education sector, especially from the rural level. So we need to collaborate with each other among us, and make sure that we reach to the rural communities, to the last mile of the person, and provide the benefit to them.
Okay. So yes, and one more thing which we are looking at is, people in cities, they of course have power of technology and they have access to lot of knowledge base as well. But when these people are developing solutions, we also need to look at contextualizing of those solutions. So we would require your help in contextualizing them and mentoring them, to take it, to be the solutions of Bharat, not of India.
India.
Anyways, the next part is now, you are a partner organization. So I would like to have your views on our project, Next Eduthon.
So this is a classic example of collaboration, what Makeshift and ThinkSharp is doing. Okay, so you are into education sector, you want to help, whether it's a rural, urban, whatever, but you want to help the education sector.
Yes.
We also want to help the education sector. We have a different programs. You have a different program, we have a different program. So there was hardly any chance for the collaboration. Okay, but we come up with some idea where we made the collaboration, and we both together are trying to help the society. Okay, so let's say now your program, Eduthon, which is going to happen now very soon. I think the registration is also started, right?
Yes.
If I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So this, let's say, if you are going, this program is going to reach, many the people who are from the education sector, whether they are teachers, whether they are educationists, whether they are policy makers. Okay, and because of this eduthon, definitely we are also going to connect with those participants. So just see how this collaboration is going to work, and this is going to really impact, and the impact we can see the post, the eduthon. And I would really would like to request to all the participants, those who are going to participate in eduthon, that they have to make sure that each and everything which is going to happen in eduthon. I heard from you that day. I was asking you whether they are going to get the right mentors, whether they are going to get the right platform, how it is going to happen, and you explained me very well. So don't worry about the mentors. We have a good mentors. We have all the team available there. All the resources will be deployed to make sure that participants come up with the brilliant solution, brilliant ideas, and those ideas will really going to help the whether it's a rural or urban, but that idea should be really help to the education sector. And
Yeah.
that kind of impact we have to create. It is not just submitting your idea. It is about from making that idea to the solution. That level we have to reach from idea to solution, and that efforts, I know that Makeshift will definitely look into that, and they will make sure that there are a lot of ideas who will come up with their solutions for the protocols by the end of the your program. So I'm just waiting to see that what kind of ideas will be come out from the eduthon, and where we can also participate with those ideas, or can we bring those
Sure.
solutions to the back to our schools. So I'm just
Oh,
waiting
sure.
for that moment.
Yeah. So there is question for you. You mentioned effect of pandemic on sports. Are you doing anything for that? Would you like the person likes to know more?
So we are not completely into the any sports program, but part of the study mall, as I said, we want to offer each and everything under one roof. That's the reason we call it study mall. So we believe that sports is again a part of their study, because I was reading somewhere that if you are you spend some amount of your time in a day on the sports, definitely it is going to help to concentrate on the study. So sport is also part of the study. So we make sure that there are some sports facilities or the sports infrastructure available in the school, and we do provide the sports kits to our partner schools. But this is not our core focus.
Okay. Okay. But okay, so sports is not your core focus, but then study malls and providing infrastructure in the rural area is your core focus, right?
Yes.
So, being our NGO partner, you have committed that you will be helping rural schools with equipping them with technology. Could you please elaborate on that?
So now, about this NGO partnership. Uh, so let's say if we get the good some participation, and we could able to generate the good donation. So now we are how we are going to use that. So we talked about digital divide, and
Yeah.
now the immediate requirement is to make sure that children will learn from the home, and how and when they will learn from home, if they have the infrastructure available at their home. So now
Hmm.
we have to provide the infrastructure to them, because till date we were providing the infrastructure at the school level only. Now
Hmm.
the schools are closed, so that infrastructure is not going to help them.
Right.
Okay, so now what we decided to introduce the another program, which is learn from home. So to
Okay.
learn from home, we need a set of infrastructure, set of facilities, set of device which should be available with the kids. And we are come up with the education tab, a tablet of the 10-inch tablet, where the tablet will be enabled with the entire academic syllabus, plus it will enable with the around 1500 non-academic books. We call it a digital library. This will have a few more apps which are provided by the state government or the central government, like Diksha. We have another partner organization like Pratham. So we'll have some application from the Pratham as well.
Hmm.
So in the collaboration with other partners, we will make sure that everything is uploaded on the device, and the device will be with the that kid, and that kid will be connected with the teacher through the internet or through the Zoom call or the Google Meet or whatever the option is available. So that is one part. And even if in some cases if internet is not available, so they will make sure that they can access the entire content offline, and they will not break their study in between. So the study will continue, and over the phone children can, sorry, over the phone teachers and the students can collaborate, they can engage, they can communicate. The teachers will make sure that they will give some assignment to them, they will complete the assignment, they will submit the assignment. So this is how we are going to plan to learn from home. And we have identified a few schools, especially in the nearby Pune and Mumbai, which are in the tribal areas, and around 100 and plus children, which they are ready to access these devices. And very soon, with the help from Eduthon and from a few other sponsors and supporters, I hope we will reach to them, and these devices will be ready by the end of this June probably. So that's the thing we are looking for.
Okay, great to know that, and we would like as many donation from anybody. So there is a page on our website which is contribute page, and there are number of options to contribute, as in you can help us through volunteering, you can help us through recommending any nominating mentors or experts, you can also become one of our partners, and you can donate to the cause which Santosh has just mentioned. So yeah.
Yes, I would like to also appeal to all the participants who are going to participate. So please contribute, because this contribution is again going back to the society. We will make sure that the kids from the rural areas, they will not break their studies, because once they break the studies, it is very difficult to ask them to come back to the same education system, because their motivation level will really go low, and then it is difficult once they drop out from the the school, or the once they demotivated from the education. So we have to make sure that they will continuously engage with the what they are studying, and to make them engage, we need to have the right kind of infrastructure available. So with the help of from you, from all the participants, and from this Eduthon program, I think we will achieve our target, and we will make sure that the kids from the rural areas will definitely will go again connect to their study.
Yeah. What are the different ways of collaborating with us? So I'll tell that I can take 2 minutes, Santosh, and
Yes,
I
please.
will elaborate on that thing. So we have different partnerships available. One partnership was Santosh's partnership, which is NGO partnership, that is closed. It is exclusively for Think Sharp Foundation. The next partnership is the very important one, is implementation partnership for the program. We are looking for people who can share their resources with us, like the tech part of it, because this is a completely online program. So we need somebody to help help to run the hackathon, because otherwise which is not possible on Zoom call, or let's say webinar interface or Facebook Live. We need to have interactive sessions, and we also need to have storage space online. So if somebody can come forward for the tech partnership, it will be really helpful for us. The next partnership is the project implementation partnership, like Santosh was talking about. He wants these projects of hackathons to come into reality and implement at a particular site. So if you can suggest us schools or colleges or any other implementation site, get in touch with us for that. We are looking at such implementation partners. There are incubation partners which can help these projects to grow from the prototype level. We, of course, we are going to handhold to these projects, but then we are also looking at some different incubation partners for taking as many projects as possible. Then there is communication partnership and community partnership. So if you are up for this cause and you like the cause, then please spread the word as much as possible in your community. That is, and ask people to participate in this program, or recommend, nominate mentors or experts to us, because more is better, right? Because there is I know there are so many people working on so many different things, and we need a very specific talent in education or tech. Now, there is another partnership, which is knowledge partnership. If you have a specific expertise in the area of education, please contact to us. We would like you to be our knowledge partners for that. And Santosh, one thing is, bringing representation from the rural area is very important. As I said that many participants might be from urban setting, um, who are great with technology, because there is a theme with our there is a theme in the eduthon, that technology for making education accessible.
Great.
So once you give the access, half of the barrier is crossed. So I'm very sure that the registrations which are coming in telling us that people are mostly focused on technology for making
Technology.
education accessible. So when you talk about access, one, whom are we giving this access, and why are we giving this access, and then comes how. Okay, so for that we need to understand problems of the rural areas or problems of the marginalized groups. Then only we can give them access, right? So if
Yes.
you also can bring participation from that particular group or areas, it
Definitely.
will be very helpful for us. Yeah. So
Definitely. We will make sure that there will be good participation from the rural community as well.
yeah, and mentoring also.
Yes. I would love to. Yes.
Okay. So any other question? Um, yeah, so we are coming here every day live at 5 p.m. We will try to make it short, mostly 30 to 45 minutes of conversation with one of the expert who is doing great work in the field of education. So they can talk about their work. You people will come to know about what work they have been doing over the years and take guidance from their expertise. That is the idea. And we would also like to introduce you to our team members through these live sessions, because there is a team of guys, 25 to 30 members working with us right now, voluntary. Complete. We all are volunteers for this cause. On Coffee Conversations
That's
with
great to know.
yeah, and they are like all over the world. Somebody is from Dubai, somebody is from
That's
US.
great.
So yes, so we would like to bring in those people to you as well. And thanks a lot, Santosh, for joining us.
My pleasure. It is, I mean, it was
It was
really good
great
to
hosting
be
you.
here. Thank you. Thank you very
Uh,
much.
Thanks a lot from our Coffee Conversations.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. This is from the ruler side. We hold coffee in the steel cup. So you're
Great.
from the urban, so you're holding in the French side.
Okay. Bye,
Okay.
Santosh.
Bye
Take
bye. Thank
care.
you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks everyone for joining. Bye.